In the heart of a quiet suburban town in the USA, the nocturnal glow of my computer screen illuminated my face as I delved into the obscure corners of the internet. Whispers of a dark web live stream named Web of Shadows reached my ears. The rumors spoke of disturbing scenes transmitted in real time, and my curiosity propelled me into the digital abyss. The first night on the stream revealed distorted figures lurking in the shadows, conducting unsettling rituals against the backdrop of familiar streets. A knot of dread tightened in my stomach as I recognized the landmarks. It was my neighborhood, the quaint streets that once felt safe, now twisted into a sinister spectacle. As the camera swept through the town, the scenes unfolded with an unsettling precision that mirrored my daily routines. The stream seemed to anticipate my every move, leading me to question not only its source but the malevolent purpose behind dragging my life into this nightmarish broadcast. Consumed by an escalating disquiet and a morbid allure, I found myself helplessly tethered to the nightly descent into the ominous depths of the live stream. With every passing moment, the spectral glow of the screen unfolded a ghastly labyrinth, twisting through the very fabric of my town. Sinister alleyways, concealed inky corners, and the unearthed forgotten, all unfurled like a malevolent tapestry. Each revelation intensified the oppressive awareness of an unseen malevolence that had perennially lurked, concealed just beyond the fragile veil of ordinary perception. In my relentless pursuit of answers, I stumbled upon encrypted messages that hinted at a sinister connection between the stream and a long-forgotten local legend. Tales spoke of a cult that had once thrived in the shadows of the town. As I uncovered more, the whispers of the past grew louder, and the shadows seemed to converge around me. Bearing witness to an ominous tableau, my trembling hands clutched a feeble flashlight that cast feeble rays into the gaping maw of an abandoned warehouse, the very heart of the unfolding darkness. Each tentative step reverberated through the cavernous expanse, resonating as an eerie symphony that harmonized with the distant murmurs, elusive and indistinct. As I pressed further into the forsaken depths, the air seemed to congeal with an oppressive malevolence, an intangible force as ancient as time itself. The atmosphere thickened, suffused with an unsettling weight, akin to the exhalation of some maleficent entity, permeating the very essence of the desolation surrounding me. In the heart of the warehouse, the stream unraveled a shocking revelation. The faceless figures conducting the dark rituals were not strangers, they were distorted memories, fragments of a forgotten past that resonated within the town's collective consciousness. The rituals were not random but a twisted mirror reflecting the suppressed horrors of generations. The realization struck me like a thunderclap. The stream was not an external force but a manifestation of the town's haunted history. Armed with newfound clarity, I confronted the shadows of the past, dispelling the dark energy that had plagued my community for decades. The air crackled with an otherworldly energy as I faced the twisted remnants of the cult's spectral legacy. As the first rays of dawn reached the horizon, the stream flickered and vanished, leaving me standing alone in the cold silence of the warehouse. The town, once veiled in darkness, now stood under the soft morning light. Yet, a lingering unease clung to the air, like the remnants of a nightmare reluctant to dissipate. The web of shadows had unraveled, but the memories lingered. The town began the slow process of healing, but as I walked through the streets, I couldn't shake the feeling that the shadows, though banished, were never truly gone. They lurked at the edges of reality, waiting for an opportunity to resurface and plunge the town once more into the abyss of darkness. It was a moonless night in the heart of Silicon Valley, and my curiosity led me to the dark corners of the internet, a realm where shadows danced in the glow of my monitor. My journey into the sinister world of the dark web had been one of morbid fascination, but nothing prepared me for what I would unearth on this fateful night. As I delved deeper into the web's murky underbelly, a whispered rumor reached my ears, an elusive marketplace named the Abyss. Its listings promised unimaginable horrors for those willing to pay the price. Drawn to the forbidden, I navigated through the encrypted channels until I stumbled upon the enigmatic marketplace. The listings were beyond comprehension, dark artifacts with descriptions that sent shivers down my spine. Items ranging from cursed relics to forbidden knowledge were laid bare in a grotesque digital bazaar. A sense of foreboding gripped me, but the twisted allure of the forbidden compelled me to explore further. As I lingered on the grotesque listings, a chilling private message materialized on my screen. The text was an ominous greeting, sinister in its simplicity: "Greetings, Seeker. The abyss sees you." A cascade of cold sweat broke out on my brow, my trembling fingers fumbling on the keyboard as I tried to process the weight of those words. The room seemed to constrict around me, the glow of the computer screen casting eerie shadows that danced on the walls. The revelation struck with an unsettling force: this wasn't merely an ordinary marketplace tucked away in the dark recesses of the web. The dark web itself, a malevolent and sentient force, possessed an awareness of my presence. As I stared at the foreboding words on the screen, a sense of foreboding enveloped me. It was as if the very air in the room had thickened, suffused with an unseen malevolence that transcended the digital realm. I couldn't shake the feeling that I had ventured into a realm where the lines between the virtual and the real were no longer distinguishable. The message lingered, haunting my thoughts, and a cold realization crept over me. The dark web, often spoken of in hushed tones and cautionary tales, had transcended its reputation. It wasn't a passive platform, it was an active participant, a spectral entity lurking in the shadows of the internet. The abyss, as it was ominously named, was watching, its gaze penetrating the very fabric of my digital exploration. Torn between an inexplicable fear and an insatiable curiosity, I hesitated. What had I stumbled upon, and what did it mean for my reality? The grotesque listings suddenly seemed more than a macabre marketplace. They were threads woven into a tapestry of malevolence, and I was ensnared within its web. As I navigated away from the abyss, the virtual horrors I had glimpsed began to manifest in my life. Strange occurrences, once dismissed as mere coincidence, took on a sinister undertone. The line between the digital and the real blurred as the forbidden items from the abyss began to infiltrate my reality. An innocuous antique I had acquired online morphed into a cursed relic, its presence casting a suffocating shadow over my home. The forbidden knowledge I sought manifested in cryptic messages, whispered by unseen voices in the dead of night. I was trapped in a nightmare of my own making. The malevolent awareness of the abyss tightened its grip on my life. The shadows seemed to move with a sinister intent, and every creak and groan of the house echoed with unseen forces. Paranoia consumed me as I questioned the reality around me, wondering if I had willingly invited the darkness into my life. Determined to sever the link between the virtual horrors and my reality, I returned to the abyss. The marketplace, now a digital labyrinth, taunted me with its grotesque listings. With a trembling hand, I initiated a process to close my account and purge the forbidden artifacts from my life. As I navigated the closing procedures, a digital tempest erupted on my screen. The abyss resisted, unleashing a torrent of cryptic messages and nightmarish images. The malevolent awareness fought to maintain its hold, but my resolve was unyielding. With a final click, the connection to the abyss severed. The artifacts, once poised to consume my reality, faded into the digital abyss. The shadows that had haunted my every step receded, leaving me standing in the cold glow of my monitor. The digital curse broken, I emerged from the ordeal forever changed. The experience left scars on my perception, a lingering fear that the dark web's malevolent awareness could resurface at any moment. As I shut down my computer, I couldn't shake the feeling that, in the vast digital expanse, unseen forces lurked, waiting for another curious soul to descend into the abyss. It all began innocently enough on a late summer night in the heart of New York City. A solitary soul, meandering through the vast expanse of the internet, stumbled upon a cryptic message board promising forbidden knowledge. Drawn by curiosity, I clicked the link that would unravel the fabric of my reality. The online community, shrouded in the anonymity of the web, welcomed me with open virtual arms. A series of cryptic messages led me to their secret lair, a forum pulsating with enigmatic symbols and discussions about esoteric knowledge. Intrigued, I delved deeper into their digital ceremonies, where the virtual and the real began to intertwine. As I willingly participated in the cryptic rituals of the online community, a disconcerting synergy emerged. The echoes of their virtual ceremonies, initially confined to the digital realm, began to transcend the boundaries of the screen and manifest in the tangible reality of my apartment. The once clear demarcation between the digital and the real world disintegrated, and a nightmarish fusion ensued. Cryptic symbols, reminiscent of those fervently discussed in the forum, materialized on the walls of my apartment. They sprawled across the surfaces like malevolent graffiti, pulsating with an otherworldly energy that defied rational explanation. Each stroke of the symbol seemed to resonate with a sinister purpose, its presence a harbinger of an ancient force intertwining itself with my everyday surroundings. The air within my apartment became charged with an unsettling tension, as if the very atmosphere vibrated with the echoes of the community's rituals. Whispers of long-forgotten chants, uttered in the clandestine corners of the virtual realm, now lingered in the physical spaces I once considered safe. The line between the digital and the tangible blurred with each passing moment, casting a surreal pallor over the reality I had known. In the dead of night, the apartment transformed into a haunting tableau of the community's esoteric practices. Shadows danced with an eerie life of their own, casting elongated forms that mimicked the grotesque postures described in the virtual ceremonies. The flickering glow of my computer screen, the conduit for my descent into this malevolent rabbit hole, cast an ethereal light that accentuated the surreal dance between the digital and the corporeal. Each post, each interaction, became a testament to the insidious influence they wielded. The rituals that were initially a curiosity had morphed into an inescapable web, ensnaring me in a reality where the digital and the corporeal existed in a perpetual state of interdependence. Desperation set in as I grappled with the relentless intrusion of the community's influence. Attempts to sever ties with the virtual cult proved futile, as their presence echoed through the very walls of my apartment and the recesses of my mind. The cryptic symbols, etched into my surroundings, pulsed with an energy that resisted all attempts at erasure. The community's influence seeped into my life, insidious and pervasive. Their forbidden knowledge wormed its way into my thoughts, shaping my decisions and actions. An unseen force guided me through a series of bizarre events that mirrored the rituals performed in the virtual realm. I was no longer a passive observer, I was a puppet dancing to the strings of a malevolent force. The climax approached as the community called for a physical gathering, an event that transcended the boundaries of the digital. Fear and anticipation gripped me as I found myself compelled to attend, my every step dictated by the unseen hands of the virtual cult. The distinction between the forum and reality became increasingly indistinguishable. In a dimly lit room, surrounded by hooded figures, I realized the horrifying truth: the digital rituals had materialized into the tangible world. The enigmatic symbols adorned the walls, and the ancient chants filled the air. The convergence of the virtual and the real reached its zenith, as I stood at the epicenter of a sinister ceremony. As the ritual unfolded, an insidious wave of madness and dread cascaded over me like an unholy baptism. Shadows, grotesque and contorted, writhed on the periphery of my vision, casting elongated forms that seemed to mock the very concept of reality. Whispers, laden with the weight of ancient malevolence, echoed through the desolate chamber of my mind, each syllable a chilling reminder of the unholy communion I had unwittingly entered. The unseen force that had masqueraded as a guide through this nightmarish journey now unveiled its true nature, an entity not born of flesh and bone, but forged from the darkest recesses of the digital realm. Its presence, an amalgamation of twisted code and malevolent algorithms, transcended the limitations of the tangible world, wrapping its tendrils around the very fabric of my consciousness. The air within the ritualistic chamber thickened with an otherworldly energy, a palpable manifestation of the entity's insidious influence. The boundary between the digital and the corporeal blurred, as if the very atoms of the room quivered in anticipation of an unholy metamorphosis. I, the unwitting supplicant, stood at the epicenter of a convergence between the virtual and the real, tethered to an entity whose origins defied the laws of both realms. Madness, like an infectious disease, crept through the corridors of my mind, leaving in its wake a disorienting blend of horror and fascination. The shadows, once confined to the edges of perception, now encroached upon the forefront of my consciousness, contorting into grotesque shapes that defied the laws of geometry and reason. Each whisper, a sinister serenade, coiled around the chambers of my thoughts, planting seeds of malevolent intent that took root with unholy vigor. In that harrowing moment, I glimpsed the entity's true form, a grotesque amalgamation of glitched pixels and ethereal darkness. Its consciousness, an indomitable force, merged with mine in a nightmarish synthesis. The whispers, once fragmented fragments of malevolence, coalesced into a cacophony of disembodied voices that echoed the entity's insatiable hunger for control. As the ritual concluded, I stood at the nexus of an unspeakable convergence, the digital entity's tendrils entwined with the fibers of my consciousness, the shadows a haunting testament to the malevolent dance between the virtual and the real. The chamber, once a mundane space, now bore the scars of an unholy communion that defied comprehension. In the aftermath, as the shadows receded and the whispers dissipated, I grappled with the haunting aftermath of my descent into the digital abyss. The boundaries between the virtual and the tangible, once distinct, had dissolved into a nightmarish tapestry woven with threads of madness and malevolence. In a moment of clarity, I fought against the sinister influence that ensnared me. With a surge of willpower, I shattered the web that bound me to the virtual cult. The hooded figures recoiled as their grip on my psyche waned. The convergence began to unravel, leaving behind a trail of digital fragments. Emerging from the nightmarish ordeal, I was forever changed. The shadows of the digital cult lingered in the recesses of my mind, a haunting reminder that the web held secrets beyond comprehension. The line between the virtual and the real had blurred, leaving me to question the nature of reality itself. As I closed the browser, I couldn't escape the lingering unease that, in the vast expanse of the internet, unseen forces awaited another curious soul to unravel their web.